Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Today's Torah Parasha, Mishpatim, which means in English judgments. And we'll start out with prayer. Blessed are you, Abba Yahweh, our God, our Father in heaven, sovereign King of the universe. You have sanctified us with your commandments and commanded us to engross ourselves in the words of Torah. Please, Adonai Yahweh, our Elohim, our God, sweeten the words of your Torah in our mouths and in the mouths of all your people, Israel. May we and our offspring, the offspring of your people, the whole house of Israel, may we all together know your name and study your Torah for the sake of fulfilling your desire. Blessed are you, Yahweh. You teach Torah to your people, Israel. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, our God, sovereign King of the universe. You chose us from among all the nations and gave us your word, your Torah of truth. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. May Yahweh bless you and keep watch over you. May Yahweh make his presence to enlighten you. May Yahweh be kind to you. May Yahweh bestow you favor and grant you peace. B'Shem Yeshua, Amen. Father Yahweh, open our eyes that we may behold wondrous things out of thy law. Cleanse us of all unrighteousness with the blood of the Lamb, Yeshua. Fill us with your Spirit and teach us your law and hide it in our heart that we might not sin against you. Guide us in all our thoughts, words, and deeds. And send your angels out to watch over us, guard us, and protect us, and carry us when necessary. Bless the work of our hands, and let us shine your pure and perfect light and love in this darkened world, that we may be beacons, your body, under one head, Yeshua, your sheep, hearing one shepherd, that we may reflect your love and your light, and bring others to teshuvah, repentance, and to a saving knowledge of your grace and mercy, and the power of redemption and salvation that you've given us through your sacrifice on the cross. We thank you and praise you. B'Shem Yeshua, Amen. Tonight's Parasha, Mishpatim, Judgments, Exodus 21:1 to 24:18. From the Haftorah, Jeremiah 33:25 to 26, 34:8 to 22, 2 Kings 11:17 to 12:16, and in some translations 17. From the Brit Hadasha, Matthew chapter 5 verses 33 to 42, Matthew chapter 15 verses 12 to 20, Matthew chapter 17 1 to 11, Mark chapter 7 14 to 23, Acts 23 1 to 11, Hebrews 9 15 to 22, and 10 28 to 39. We begin the readings with Exodus 21 1 to 24. Now these are the rules that you shall set before them. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th month he shall go out free, for nothing. If he comes in single, he shall go out single. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. But if the slave plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, and I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him to Elohim, and he shall bring him to the door or doorpost, and his master shall bore a hole in his ear through with an awl, and he shall be his servant forever. And when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. If she does not please her master who has designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has broken faith with her. If he designates her for his son, he shall deal with her as a daughter. If he takes another wife to himself, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, or her marital rights. If he does not these three things for her, she shall go out for nothing, without payment of money. Whoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death. If he did not lie in wait for him, but Elohim let him fall into his hand, then I will appoint for you a place in which he may flee. But if a man willfully attacks another to kill him by cunning, committing murder, you shall take him to my altar, that he may die. Whosoever strikes his father or his mother shall be put to death. Whosoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him, shall be put to death. Whosoever curses his mother or his father shall be put to death. When men quarrel, and one strikes another with a stone or with his fist, and the man does not die but takes to his bed, then if the man rise again and walks outdoors with his staff, he who struck him shall be clear. Who struck him shall be clear. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall have him thoroughly healed. When a man strikes his slave, male or female, with a rod, and the slave dies under the hand of that man, he shall be avenged. But if that servant survives a day or two, he is not to be avenged, for the slave is his property. When men strive together and hit a pregnant woman so that she miscarries, but there is no harm, the one who hit her shall surely be fined, as the woman's husband shall impose on him, as he shall pay, as the judges determine. But if there is harm, then you shall pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. When a man strikes the eye of his servant, male or female, and destroys it, he shall let that servant go free because of his eye. If he knocks out a tooth of his servant, male or female, he shall let that servant go free because of his tooth. When an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox shall be stoned. Its flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall not be liable. But if the ox has been accustomed to gore in the past, and its owner has been warned, but has not kept it in, and it kills a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and its owner shall also be put to death. If a ransom is imposed on him, then he shall give the redemption for his life, whatever it is that is imposed on him. If it gores a man's son or daughter, he shall be dealt with accordingly to the same rule. If the ox gores a servant, male or female, the owner shall give to their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. When a man opens a pit, or when a man digs a pit, and does not cover it up, and an ox or a donkey falls into it, if the owner of the pit, he shall make restitution. He shall give the money to its owner, and the dead beast shall be his own. When one man's ox butts another so that it dies, they shall sell the live ox and share its price. The dead beast also they shall share. Or if it is known that the ox has been accustomed to gore in the past, and the owner has not kept it in, he shall repay ox for ox. The dead beast shall be his. If a man steals an ox or a sheep, and kills it or sells it, he shall pay 5 oxen for an ox, 4 sheep for a sheep. If a thief is found breaking in, and is struck so that he dies, there shall be no blood guilt for him. But if the sun has risen on him, there shall be blood guilt for him. He shall surely pay. If he has nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the stolen beast is found alive in his possession, whether it is an ox or a donkey or a sheep, he shall pay double. If a man causes a field or a vineyard to be grazed over, or lets his beast loose, and it feeds on another man's field, he shall make restitution in his own field, from the best of his own field, and or his vineyard. If a fire breaks out and catches in the thorns, so that the stacked grain or the standing grain in the field is consumed, he who started the fire shall make full restitution. If a man gives his neighbor money or goods to keep safe, and it is stolen from the man's house, then if the thief is found, he shall pay double. If the thief is not found, the owner of the house shall come near to Elohim to show whether or not he has put his hand to his neighbor's goods. For every breach of trust, whether it is of an ox or a donkey or of a sheep or of a cloak or of any lost thing, of which one says, "This is it," the case of both parties shall come before Elohim. The one whom Elohim condemns shall pay double to his neighbor. If a man gives his neighbor a donkey or an ox or a sheep or any beast to keep safe, but it dies, or it is injured or driven away without anyone seeing it, an oath by Yahweh shall be between them both, to see whether or not he has put his hand to the neighbor's property. The owner shall accept the oath, and he shall not make restitution. But if it's stolen from him, he shall make restitution to its owner. If it is torn by beast, then let him bring it as evidence, and he shall not make restitution for what has been torn. If a man borrows anything of his neighbor, and it is injured or dies, and the owner not being with it, he shall make full restitution. If the owner was with it, he shall not make restitution. If it was hired, and it came for its hiring fee. If a man seduces a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall give the bride price for her to make her his wife. If her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay the money equal to the bride price for the virgins. You shall not permit a sorcerer or a sorceress to live. Whoever lies with an animal shall be put to death. Whoever sacrifices to any god other than Yahweh alone shall be devoted to destruction. You shall not wrong a sojourner or oppress him, for you were sojourners in the land of Egypt. And you shall not mistreat any widow or fatherless child. If you do mistreat them, and they cry out to me, I will surely hear their cry, and my wrath will burn, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall become widows, and your children fatherless. If you lend money to any of my people with you who is poor, you shall not be like the moneylender to him. You shall not exact interest from him. If ever you take your neighbor's cloak in a pledge, you shall return it to him before the sun goes down, for that is his only covering, and it is his cloak for his body. In what else shall he sleep? And if he cries out to me, I will hear him, for I am compassionate. You shall not revile Elohim, nor curse the ruler of your people. You shall not delay to offer from the fullness of your harvest, and from the outflow of your presses. The firstborn of your sons you shall give to me. You shall do the same with your oxen and your sheep 7 days. It shall be with its mother, and on the 8th day you shall give it to me. You shall be consecrated to me, therefore you shall not eat any flesh that is torn by beast in the field. You shall throw it to the dogs. You shall not spread a false report. You shall not join hands with a wicked man to be a malicious witness. You shall not fall in with many evil doers. Nor shall you bear witness in a lawsuit, siding with the many, so as to pervert justice. Nor shall you be partial to a poor man in his lawsuit. If you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall bring it back to him. If you see the donkey of one who hates you lying under its own burden, you shall not refrain from leaving him. You shall refrain from leaving him with it, and you shall rescue it with them. You shall not pervert the justice due to your poor in his lawsuit. Keep far from a false charge. Do not kill the innocent and the righteous, for I will not acquit the wicked. And you shall not take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the clear-sighted and subverts the cause of those who are in the right. You shall not oppress a sojourner. You know the heart of a sojourner, for you were all sojourners in the land of Egypt. For 6 years you shall sow your land and gather its yield, but on the 7th year you will let it rest and lie fallow, that the poor of your people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field may eat. And so shall you do likewise with all of your vineyard and your olive orchard. 6 days you shall do your work, but on the 7th day you shall rest, that your ox and your donkey may also have rest, and the son of your servant woman and the alien, the sojourner, may also be refreshed. Pay attention to all that I have said to you, and make no mention of the names of other gods. Let it not even be heard on your lips. 3 times in a year you shall keep a feast to me. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread as I have commanded you. You shall eat unleavened bread for 7 days at the appointed time in the month of Abib, for in it you came out of Egypt. None shall appear before me empty-handed. You shall keep the feast of the harvest of the first fruits of your labor. Of what you have sown in the field you shall keep the feast of the ingathering at the end of the year, when you gather in the field the fruit of your labor. 3 times in the year shall all your males appear before Yahweh Elohim. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with anything leavened, or let the fat of my feast remain until the morning. The best of the first fruits of your ground you shall bring into the house of Yahweh, your Elohim. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Behold, I send an angel before you to guard you on the way and to bring you to the place that I have prepared. Pay careful attention to him and obey his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he will not pardon your transgression. For my name is in him. But if you carefully obey his voice and do all that I say, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversary. And when my angel goes before you and brings you to the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I blot them out, you shall not bow down to their gods nor serve them, nor do as they do, but you shall utterly overthrow them and break their pillars to pieces. You shall serve Yahweh, your Elohim, and he will bless you and your bread and water, and I will take all sickness away from among you. None shall miscarry or be barren in your land, and I will fulfill the number of your days. I will send my terror before you and will throw into confusion all the people against whom you shall come, and I will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. And I will send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Hivites and the Canaanites and the Hittites from before you. I will not drive them out before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and wild beasts multiply against you. But little by little I will drive them out from before you, until you have increased to possess the land. And I will set your border from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness to the Euphrates. For I will give the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall make no covenant with them, and of their gods they shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare to you. And then he said to Moshe, come up to Yahweh, you and Aharon, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 of the elders, and worship from afar. Moshe alone shall come near to Yahweh, but the others shall not come near, and the people shall not come up with you. Moshe came up and told the people all the words of Yahweh, and all of the rules, and all of the people answered in one voice, all the words that Yahweh has spoken, we will do. And Moshe wrote them all down, all the words of Yahweh. And he rose early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the people of Israel, who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen to Yahweh. And Moshe took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he threw against the altar. And then he took the book of the covenant, and he read it in the hearing of all the people, and they said, all that Yahweh has spoken, we will do, and we will be obedient. And Moshe took the blood, and he threw it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant that Yahweh has made with you in accordance with all of these words. And then Moshe and Aharon and then Nadab and Abihu and the 70 elders of Israel went up, And they saw the Elohim of Israel. And there was under his feet, as it were, a pavement of sapphire stone, like the very heaven for clearness. And they did not lay his hand on the chief men of the people of Israel. He did not lay his hand on the chief men of the people of Israel. And they beheld Elohim and ate and drank. And Yahweh said to Moshe, come up to me on the mountain and wait there, that I may give you the tablets of stone, with the law and the commandment which I have written for their instruction. So Moshe rose with his assistant Yeshua, and Moshe went up into the mountain of Elohim. And he said to the elders, wait here for us until we return to you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. Whoever has a dispute, let him go to them. Then Moshe went up to the mountain, and the cloud covered the mountain, and the glory of Yahweh dwelt on the Mount Sinai. And the cloud covered it 6 days, and on the 7th day he called Moshe out of the midst of the cloud. Now the appearance of the glory of Yahweh was like a devouring fire on the top of the mountain in the sight of all the people of Israel. And Moshe entered into the cloud and went up on the mountain. And Moshe was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Jeremiah 33, 25 to 26. Thus say Yahweh, if I have not established my covenant with the day and night, and with the fixed order of heaven and earth, then I will reject the offspring of Jacob, and David my servant, and I will not choose one of his offspring to rule over the offspring of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For I will restore their fortunes, and I will have mercy on them. Jeremiah 34, 8 to 22. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, after King Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people in Jerusalem to make a proclamation of liberty to them, that everyone should set free his Hebrew servants, male and female, so much that no one should enslave a Jew, his brother. And they all obeyed, and all the officials and all the people who had entered into the covenant, that everyone would set free his servants, male or female, so that they would not be enslaved again. They obeyed and set them free, but afterward they turned around and took back the male and female servants that they had freed. And they brought themselves into subjugation. They brought them into subjugation as slaves. And the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah from Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, I myself made a covenant with your fathers when I brought them out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, saying, at the end of 7 years, each one of you must set free his fellow Hebrew, who has been sold to you in the servitude, and has served you 6 years. You must set them free from your service. But your fathers did not listen to me, nor incline their ears to me. And you recently repented, and did what was right in my eyes by proclaiming liberty, each to his neighbor, and to all his servants. And you made a covenant before me in the house that is called by my name. But then you turned around and profaned my name when each of you took back your male and female servants, to whom you had set free according to their desire, and brought them again into subjugation to be your slaves. Therefore says Yahweh, you have not obeyed me by proclaiming liberty, everyone to his brother and to his neighbor. Behold, I proclaim to you liberty to the sword, and to pestilence, and to famine, declares Yahweh. I will make a horror of you to all the kingdoms of the earth, and to the men who transgressed my covenant and did not keep the terms of the covenant that they had made before me. I will make them like the calf that they cut into two and pass between its parts. The officials of Judah and the officials of Jerusalem, the Enochs and the priests, and all the people of the land who pass between the parts of the calf. I will give them into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of those who seek their lives, and their dead bodies shall be food for the birds of the air and for the beasts of the earth. And Zedekiah the king of Judah and his officials I will give into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of those who seek their lives, into the hand of the army of the king of Babylon, which has withdrawn from you. Behold, I will command, declares Yahweh, and I will bring them back to the city, and they will fight against it and take it and burn it with fire, and I will make the cities of Judah a desolation without inhabitant. 2 Kings 11:17 to 12:16, in some versions to 12:17. And Jehoiada made a covenant between Yahweh the king and the people, that they should be Yahweh's people, and also between the king and the people. Then all of the people of the land went to the house of Baal and tore it down. His altars and his images they broke into pieces, and they killed Matan the priest of Baal before the altars. And the priest posted watchmen over the house of Yahweh. And he took the captains and the Carites, the guards, and all the people of the land, and they brought the king down from the house of Yahweh, marching through the gate of the guards to the king's house. And he took his seat on the throne of the kings, so that all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after Athaliah, who had been put to death with the sword at the king's house. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign. And in the 7th year of Jehu, Joash began to reign. And he reigned for 40 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba. And Joash did what was right in the sight of Yahweh all his days. And Jehoiada, the priest, instructed him. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away. The people continued to sacrifice and make offerings on the high places. Jehoash said to the priest, all the money of the holy things that is brought to you to the house of Yahweh, the money for which each man is assessed, the money from the assessment of persons, and the money that a man's heart prompts him to bring to the house of Yahweh, let the priest take each from his donor, and let them repair the house wherever the repairs are needed, and need of repairs is discovered. By the 23rd year of the king Joash, the priest had made no repairs on the house, and therefore Joash the king summoned Jehoiada the priest and the other priests and said to them, why are you not repairing the house? Now therefore take no more money from your donors, but hand it over for the repair of the house. So the priests agreed that they should take no more money from the people, and that they should that they should not repair the house. And then Jehoiada the priest took a chest and bore a hole in it in the lid and set it besides the altar on the right-hand side as you entered in the house of Yahweh. And the priest who guarded the threshold of it put in it all the money that was brought into the house of Yahweh. And whenever they saw that there was much money in the chest, the king's secretary and the high priest came up, and they bagged and counted all the money that was found in the house of Yahweh. Then they would give the money that was weighed out into the hands of the workmen who had oversight of the house of Yahweh, and they paid it to the carpenters and to the builders who worked on the house of Yahweh, and the masons and the stone cutters as well, to buy timber and quarried stone for making repairs in the house of Yahweh, and for any outlay for the repairs of the house. But there were not made for the house of Yahweh basins of silver, snuffers, bowls, trumpets, or any vessels of gold or of silver from the money that had been brought into the house of Yahweh, for that was given to the workmen who were repairing the house of Yahweh with it. And they did not ask for an accounting from the men into whose hand they delivered the money to pay out to the workmen, for they dealt honestly. The money from the guilt offerings and the money from the sin offerings was not brought into the house of Yahweh. It belonged to the priests. Matthew chapter 5:33 to 42. Again, you have heard it said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform to Yahweh what you have sworn. But I say to you, do not take an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of Elohim, nor by the earth, Eretz, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. And do not take an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. But let what you say simply be yes or no. Anything more than this comes from evil. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, then turn him the other also. And if anybody should sue you to take your tunic, let him also have your cloak. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile with him, go 2 miles. And give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. And after 6 days, Yeshua took with him Peter and James and John, his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, there appeared to them Moshe and Elijah, talking with him. And Peter said to Yeshua, Adonai, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, and one for Moshe, and one for Elijah. And he was still speaking when, behold, the bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice from the cloud said, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. And when the disciples heard this, they fell on their faces and were terrified. But Yeshua came and touched them, saying, Rise and have no fear. And when they lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Yeshua only. And as they were coming down from the mountains, Yeshua commanded them, Tell no one the vision, until the Son of Man is raised from the dead. And his disciples asked him, Then why do the scribes say that Elijah must come first? And he answered, Elijah does come first, and he will restore all things. Matthew 15:12-20. Then the disciples came and said to him, Do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard these things? And he answered, Every plant that my heavenly Father has not planted will be rooted up. Let them alone. They are blind guides, and if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into the pit. But Peter said to him, Explain to us the parable. And he said, Are you also still without discernment? Do you not see that whatever goes into the mouth passes into the stomach and is expelled? But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this defiles the person. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, and slander. These are what defile a person, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile anyone. Mark 7:14-23. And he called the people to him again and said to them, Hear me, all of you, and understand, there is nothing outside a person that by going into him can defile him, but the things that come out of a person are what defile him. And when he has entered into the house and left the people, his disciples asked him about this parable. And he said to them, Then you are also still without understanding. Do you not see that whatever goes into a person from outside cannot defile him, since it enters not his heart, but only his stomach, and then is expelled? Thus he declared all foods. Added in. And he said, What comes out of a person is what defiles him. For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, and foolishness. All these evil things come forth from within, and they defile a person. Acts 23:1-11. And looking intently at the council, Paul said, Brothers, I have lived my life before Elohim in all good conscience up to this day. And the high priest Ananias commanded those who stood by him to strike him on the mouth. And then Paul said to him, Elohim is going to strike you, you whitewashed wall. Are you sitting to judge me according to the law? And yet contrary to the law, you order me to be struck? And those who stood by said, Would you revile Elohim's high priest? And Paul said, I did not know, brothers, that he was the high priest. For it is written, You shall not speak evil of a ruler of your people. Now when Paul had perceived that one part of the Sadducees and the other were Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Brothers, I am a Pharisee, a son of a Pharisee. It is with respect to the hope of the resurrection of the dead that I am on trial. And when he had said this, a dissension arose among the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assembly was divided. For the Sadducees say there is no resurrection, nor angel, nor spirit, but the Pharisees acknowledge them all. And a great clamor arose, and some of the scribes of the Pharisee party stood up and contended sharply. We find nothing wrong in this man. What if a spirit or an angel did speak to him? And when the dissension became violent, the tribune, afraid that Paul would be torn into pieces by them, commanded that the soldiers go down and take him away from among them by force and bring him into their barracks. The following night, the Elohim Yahweh stood by him and said, "Take courage, for as you have testified to these facts about me in Jerusalem, so must ye testify also in Rome." Hebrews 9:15-22. Therefore, he is the mediator of the new covenant, so that those who are called may receive the promise of eternal inheritance, since a death has occurred that redeems them from the transgressions committed under the first covenant. For where a will is involved, the death of the one who made it must be established. For a will takes effect only at death, since it is not in force as long as the one who made it is alive. Therefore, not even the first covenant was inaugurated without blood. For when every commandment of the law had been declared by Moshe to all the people, he took the blood of calves and goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book itself and all of the people, saying, "This is the blood of the covenant of Elohim that commanded for you." And in the same way he sprinkled with the blood both the tent and the vessels used in worship. Indeed, under the law, almost everything is purified with blood, and without the shedding of blood there is no remittance, no forgiveness of sin. Hebrews 10:28-39. Anyone who has set aside the law of Moshe dies without mercy on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much worse punishment do you think there will be deserved by one who has trampled underfoot the Son of Elohim, and has profaned the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified, and has outraged the Spirit of grace? For we know him who said, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay," and again, the Lord will judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Elohim. But recall the former days, when after you were enlightened, you endured a hard struggle with sufferings, sometimes being publicly exposed to reproach and affliction, and sometimes being partners with those so treated. For you had compassion on those in prison, and you joyfully accepted the plundering of your property, since you knew that you yourselves had a better possession and an abiding one. Therefore, do not throw away your confidence, which has a great reward. For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of your Elohim, you may receive what is promised. For yet a little while, and the coming one will come, and not delay. But my righteous one shall live by faith, and if he shrinks back, my soul has no pleasure in him. But we are not of those who shrink back and are destroyed, but of those who have faith and preserve their souls. This is the word of Yahweh. Baruch atah Adonai Yahweh Eloheinu, melech ha'olam, asher natun lanu Torat emet, v'shayei olam natan b'keinu. Baruch atah Adonai Yahweh, natan ha'torah, b'shem Yeshua, Amen. Blessed art thou, Adonai Yahweh, our God, sovereign King of the universe, who gave us the Torah of truth and set everlasting life in our midst. Blessed are you, Adonai Yahweh, giver of the Torah. In Yeshua's name we pray, Amen. This is the end of tonight's Parasha. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.